It's Friday night. Time for high school football. KMIR News. Friday Night Lights. Brought to you by General Air Conditioning.
Welcome to Friday Night Lights, your complete wrap of all the high school football games here in the Coachella Valley. And the weather, as you've seen, played havoc on all the games from the East Valley to the West. And that's where our Julie Bueller is tonight. West Valley, Palm Springs. She kicks off Friday Night Lights team coverage. Julie.
That's right, Gino. You know, in my evening preview at 6 o'clock, I said it would be an electric atmosphere. I had no idea what I was predicting. But, of course, we know the Palm Springs High School offense can score rather quickly, but even it was upstaged by Mother Nature tonight as lightning delayed or even halted games around the Coachella Valley. Let's get you caught up on what the CIF rulebook has to say, though, about what happens when lightning or thunder is heard, because what officials need to pay attention to is that if a cloud to ground lightning bolt is seen and thunder is heard, that means that the strike is close enough to the location that officials need to take notice and suspend play and take shelter immediately. They cleared out stadiums around the Coachella Valley. Then there's a 30-minute rule, and once play has been suspended, that 30-minute rule is enacted, which means there needs to be 30 minutes of no lightning before play can resume. If there is lightning in that 30-minute time period, then guess what? Another 30-minute time period is enacted until officials either decide to call the game or continue waiting out the weather. So that was the debate going around the Coachella Valley, is do we call the game or do we wait out the weather? Well, they waited out the weather here at Palm Springs Stadium. Let's get you back out to the action, because the Indians scored on their first possession after play resumed. When play was halted, it was a 21-0 Palm Springs lead. Play resumed. Trenton Thompson scored on a pass from Will Olvera. At that point, it was then 28-0 Palm Springs. But La Quinta answered with a touchdown of their own. And then subsequently after, Taylor Hawkins, a dazzling 80-yard kickoff return. And it would just be too much. The Palm Springs Indians end up with the game. 42-6 was the final here at Palm Springs Stadium. An impressive display of offensive prowess and defensive prowess from the Indians. Will Olvera had 5 touchdowns. Meanwhile, just down the road, Cathedral City hosted Palm Desert, and that game was also suspended due to lightning. However, the Aztecs led at 21-0 at the halftime. At that point, officials had seen enough. They decided rather than waiting out the weather, they would call the game. To be official, a game has to have at least one play in the third quarter, although they did not do that at Cathedral City between the Aztecs and the Lions, because both coaches agreed that is the final. It is an official game. It will both count towards their DVL schedule. 21-0, the final victory for the Aztecs. Gino, in just a couple minutes, we'll catch up with head coach Dan Murphy and Will Olvera, talk about how they stayed focused through that lengthy weather delay, and then, of course, celebrate a huge Indian win, although it did come with consequences. Franklin Miller ended up injuring his knee. He'll have an MRI. We're not sure if it's a ACL or an MCL. We'll keep you posted, though, as we learn more about Franklin Miller. Back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks, Julie. Continuing our coverage now of tonight's rain-soaked league action. Let's check in with sports reporter Bridget Case. Bridget.
That's right, Gino. DVL action tonight was pretty intense, along with this game-defining weather we're having. We begin in the East Valley as the Coachella Valley Arabs welcomed Xavier Prep to Thermal. Lightning in the east end of the valley delayed this one as well. Players and fans were cleared off the field while officials waited for the storm to pass. Coachella Valley was leading 10-0 at the half, but with the break cut short to just 10 minutes, the sky got angry with lightning continuing to strike. The game was postponed, with the Arabs taking a 22-7 lead over the Saints, and just 8 minutes and 2 seconds left on the clock. The players will rest up and resume play Saturday at noon. The Shadow Hills Knights played with fire in their eyes tonight. Their explosive offense squashed the Yucca Valley Trojans. They boast a 35-7 lead at the half, backed by Tony Williams. He scored 5 touchdowns in the second quarter with 8 carries for 192 yards. Fast forward to the fourth quarter with the clock running, Shadow Hills leads it 42-7. And things would stay that way. It's a well-deserved big finish for the Knights, defeating the foe from the high desert. I repeat, 42-7. It's a blowout. Shadow Hills will travel to Big Bear next week for another league matchup. Next, we continue with more coverage of your rain-soaked Friday Night Lights. Gino?
All right, thank you, Bridget. Coming up next on Friday Night Lights, we go to Rancho Mirage as the Rattlers take on the Rams, and of course, weather delays there. And then we'll go back out to Julie Bueller with game reaction as Friday Night Lights continues. Welcome back. Friday Night Lights moves on with more DVL and Deanza League action. Let's go back over to Bridget Case. Bridget.
The Rattlers sure brought in the storm tonight at home. They welcomed Desert Mirage into their stadium, jumping to a 21-0 lead over the Rams with 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in the first quarter. And that's when the storm broke. The players headed into the locker room for a 30-minute lightning delay, but as the clock turned back to 30 minutes each time a bolt struck, the boys were in for a long night, and so were the fans. Rancho Mirage students stayed spirited despite the weather. They chanted and sang until the players would return to a dramatic scene where they would pick things up first and goal at the 6, but it seemed the weather gods had turned things in Desert Mirage's favor. The Rams scored on a 7-yarder and went for 2, tightening things up to 21-8, but that blessing didn't last. By the first play of the second quarter, the Rattlers were back in the driver's seat, leading 28-8. The second half was no different. Rancho Mirage kept their dominance over Desert Mirage, taking a 45-8 lead in fair weather style. In the third quarter, the Rattlers improved to 6-2 and face Yucca Valley next week. And with league play in full swing, 2 Valley teams enjoyed the night off this week. Desert Hot Springs sports a winning 5-2 record. They look forward to a competitive contest next Friday against undefeated High Desert opponent 29 Palms. And with a much-deserved, well-restful weekend in store, the young men decided to do something a little more meaningful with their free time. Coach Will Littell will be taking his players to feed the homeless on Saturday morning, giving back to a community that has always given them so much support on Friday nights.
We've rested up, and it's a chance we've gotten our studying done, for us to give back right now, and it's important. This community needs all the help it can get, and I'm trying to foster that in my young men here, and showing them that we need to give back to the community and help it develop.
Well, doing this is really giving, not getting.
It means a lot because, you know, we can learn a life lesson from these people, you know. Some people that struggle and aren't doing exactly what they wanted to do.
I sweat with my brothers, I bleed with my brothers, so might as well go out and help my brothers.
You might meet someone there that teaches you something, and you can carry that on for the rest of your life and help others.
The players will be scoring in the community, hosting that free breakfast at the Word of Life Fellowship Center in Desert Hot Springs from 9 a.m. to noon. Indio High School also off this week. The 1-6 Rajas are hoping to salvage their season when they return to the field. Next Friday against Cathedral City. And Gino, back to you.
All right, thank you, Bridget. Let's head back out to Palm Springs now. Julie Bueller with game reaction. Julie.
That's right, Gino. It's called the Mike Gates Trophy because he's a former teacher at Palm Springs and La Quinta. It's always a huge matchup between these two games, or between these two teams. And of course, with Palm Springs winning tonight, caught up with head coach Dan Murphy and quarterback Will Vera with their reaction.
Well, we just kind of sat and we gave a chance to rest up a little bit at half and went over some schemes, things that we needed to work on, some alignment issues. Injury-wise, we got a couple kids that we don't know the extent of the injuries. Franklin Miller on that last play of the first half.
It was kind of hard during the weather delay. It kind of slowed us all down, made us get tired, tighten up. So I think that's why they actually scored on us.
I really wish I had an idea. I will. All right, Gino, back to you.
Thank you, Julie. If you missed any of tonight's show, you can always get it on KMIR.com. We'll be right back and have a look at your forecast.